G'day, and welcome to Strange Life. I thought I might try and Australian it up a little bit with the old g'day, even though it's corny. The next two stories aren't really related in that there's no real sort of common theme. It's just a couple of creepy stories that I came across while searching for other stories, but I thought they were good enough to make a video for. I found them pretty interesting anyway. They're pretty eerie, especially the last one. So kick back and enjoy. I don't really believe it was paranormal, but the events were so extraordinary that I'm not 100% sure how else to explain it. I was on a fly fishing trip with my two cousins, and we had gone out to a stream that was about a 5 to 10 mile hike from the road. So we were pretty much isolated from people and other fishers. I was still a pretty new fisher at the time, and I had never fished this particular stream before. We were piggybacking sections of the stream, so we would each get to fish a portion and then skip to the front of the group and fish a new portion. My cousins specifically told me to stay to the right of the stream when we hit the branch. I figured that they meant it was overrun with logs or large rocks, but being the idiotic 15-year-old I was, I decided to cross the stream and take the other branch because it couldn't be that bad, and it's nice to have an entire section to yourself. I was surprised when I started going down it because it was really nice fishing. There weren't any logs blocking the river, and the foliage wasn't very thick. I remember I started noticing things though, specifically that there was an absolute silence over this part of the forest. It didn't really strike me as bizarre at the time, but things kept on getting weirder the further I went down. I noticed that someone had recently macheted through a really thick section of trees. When I went up to get a better look, I realized that there was no way the damage was from a machete. It was easily 10 feet up and took a bizarre path through one side of the stream to the other, like something had stumbled through. I remember being marginally creeped out at this point, and I decided to turn around and head back. When I was nearing the halfway point on my way back, I saw a sign had been stuck to a tree that read, "You're dead." I started laughing at it because it was just so ridiculous. And then 5 seconds later, something big starts moving around behind me. I didn't even bother turning around. I just hightailed it out of there and didn't stop running until I had found my cousins. We never talked about what happened to me because I was afraid of getting in trouble, but sometimes I feel like it might have been some sort of prank on their behalf. The only odd thing is that I thought they would have been like, "Haha, gotcha," at some point, and they never did. Realistically, it was probably just some animal, and the sign had probably been there forever, but it still scared the absolute crap out of me at the time, and I would never go back to that stream ever again. I was 20. Dad asked me if I wanted to look at a house that was for rent. The next morning, we went to his mum's house at 5 for some coffee. She asked what we were doing out so early. Dad told her that we were meeting a realtor at 6. At 5:30 we left, getting to the house a couple of minutes before 6. As we pulled into the drive, we noticed the yard had not been cared for. The house was a rectangular 2-story dwelling with front windows only on the second floor. As we got out of the van, it was a quiet, calm day, except for 2 kids laughing in the backyard. We figured it was the neighbours' kids. As we approached the back of the house, there was a swing set with 2 swings. They were swinging in opposite directions with nobody on them, and there was the laughter of a boy and a girl. Another quick glance, and the swings were still, and the laughter had stopped. Dad asked me if I had seen it. I had. We proceeded back to the side of the house. We passed the garage. It had 2 wooden doors with small glass panes. We looked in the window. The garage had a dirt floor and was empty. We walked up to the side porch. The door was unlocked, so we went inside. Dad turned on the switch, but no lights came on. I tried a few, with no luck. The inside of the house was weird. There was a large room with doorways branching off. The living room was like none I had ever seen. It was about 10 by 40, with no windows except for the small one in the door. I went back into where Dad was. He was trying to open the basement door, which was locked. Dad asked if I was ready to go, but instead of leaving, he went into the living room and stared out of the front door window for about 3 or 4 minutes. I was about to go upstairs when I got an eerie feeling, so I stayed in the main area. Dad then came out and asked if I was ready to go again. Then he made the remark that we hadn't tried that door. We had. It was the locked basement door from before. He turned the knob, and the door opened. The hair on the back of my neck stood up. Now I was getting scared. Dad flipped the light switch, and it came on. I was wondering why the other lights didn't come on earlier. Then Dad proceeded to go down the steps, but I was leery. I went down. The basement was small. There was an old wringer washer with a loaded revolver on the lid. It was like the silver and ivory handled cap guns that kids use today. I picked it up 4 inches off the lid, and out of the corner of my eye, I saw a light cord moving. The lights went out, and the door slammed shut. It was so dark, you couldn't see your hand in front of your face. I felt aimlessly for my dad. Then, holding his shirt, we went up the stairs. At the top, he stopped and let out a blood-curdling scream. It made my blood run cold. I pushed him, and he pushed the door open, and all the lights were on, and it was dark outside. After jumping in the van, Dad turned the headlights on. The garage doors were open, and inside, there was a lamb lying on the dirt floor, with its throat slashed, jerking violently. Blood was pumping into the dirt. When we arrived back at my grandmother's, it was 2:30 a.m. She asked where we had been all day. We had lost 21 hours in 5 minutes of time in the basement. Later, we drove past the house, and all the doors were shut and the lights were out. Whenever I would ask Dad about what he had seen, his mood would change, and he would start shaking, huddled like a kid crying, and say nothing. To this day, I don't know what he saw, and I don't think I want to know. Since he has passed away now, I will never know.